As we near the close of the 25-26 school year, I'd like to take a moment to recognize something special. An entire community of students who showed up, put in work, grew, and pushed forward. From our youngest learners to those taking their next big step, this year mattered. It shaped futures, built confidence, and created momentum. We also need to recognize the people who made that possible. To our teachers, support staff, and school leaders, thank you. Thank you for your dedication, your patience, and your relentless commitment to our kids. You don't just teach lessons, you create environments where students feel safe, supported, and valued. You are mentors, role models, problem solvers, and steady voices in moments that matter more than most people ever see. What you do goes far beyond academics, and our community is stronger because of you. Now as we turn the page into summer, we welcome a different kind of energy. This is the season of ball fields and busy parks, of early mornings and late nights, of kids chasing goals, friendships growing stronger, and families finding time to just be together. It's the sound of games, the feeling of fresh air, and the simple moments that end up meaning the most. Let's make the most of it. Let's support one another, show up for our kids, and continue building the kind of community we're proud to be a part of. A community where people look out for each other, where families feel connected, and where every kid has a place to belong. And as a city council, this is our responsibility too. We have the opportunity and the obligation to invest in the spaces and opportunities that bring that vision to life. That means supporting our parks, strengthening our neighborhoods, ensuring safe spaces for kids to play and families to gather, and continue to partner with schools, organizations, and local leaders who are doing the work on the ground every day. It means listening to our residents, being present in our community, and making decisions that reflect not just today's needs, but the future we want for our children. If we do that, if we lead with intention, collaboration, and care, then we're not just talking about a stronger community, we're actively building one. Here's to a safe, active, and memorable summer for our students, our families, and everyone who calls this community home.
Thanks for sharing those words, Alder. Appreciate it. Next up is approval of minutes. Motion to approve made by Alder Eck. Is there a second? Second by Alder Hoopas. Any changes? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Minutes are approved. Approval of the agenda. Motion to approve made by Alder Eck. Seconded by Alder Talib. Any changes here? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The agenda has been approved. Report by the mayor. Just wanted to mention an event that we have every year on Memorial Day at Admiral Flatley Park, put on by the United Patriotic Society. Alder Eck has been there in the past. I know others have as well, and so just wanted to invite the city council and all members of the public to join me at Admiral Flatley Park. I think things get going at 4 o'clock on Monday, on Memorial Day. So as you all know, it's not just a long weekend. It's an important opportunity for us to commemorate those who have given everything in defense of our country. So again, would love to see you all down there and members of the public as well. So with that, we'll move on to announcements from council.
So we have an item later on our agenda that I don't know will necessarily get pulled for discussion. We're allowing the striker team to fundraise to kind of make some improvements to Arnie Wolf Field. So I'd just like to formally invite everyone to help partake in that fundraising efforts. June 12th, they are partnering with the Green Bay Rockers for tickets, $15 tickets that come with a Rockers hat, and $7 of all of those tickets goes right back to Green Bay Strikers fundraising efforts for Arnie Wolf. So if anyone needs the link to purchase tickets, I'd be more than happy to share them.
A lot of people who watch last month. Other announcements?
We won't meet before this, but kick off your summer with the first Grooves on the Green concert of the year. Join us at Kennedy Park. It's 2227 Farland Avenue from 6 to 8 p.m. for an evening of great music, good food, and community connection. Bring a chair, relax with friends and neighbors, and enjoy the sounds of the rock and blues band Little Cisco. Come hungry, our local food trucks will be on site serving up delicious options. Grooves on the Green is all about bringing music into our neighborhood parks, and creating spaces where our community can come together and enjoy some summer right here in Green Bay. There's a full list of dates, times, and locations for the future Grooves on the Green events available online at greenbaywi.gov/guide. where you can find the 2026 Summer Guide. This concert series proudly presented in partnership with the Tarleton Theater, Green Bay Neighborhoods, and the City of Green Bay.
Excellent, thanks all.
I'd like to make a personal acknowledgement and acknowledge my wife's mother, my mother-in-law, Rose Lassay. She lives on Fisk Street and up near, Liberty, near Fisk, in the same house they built 65 years ago. This Sunday, she will be 100 years old. She's still sharp as a tack, puts me in my place, and physically doing well and mentally doing super well.
That's incredible. Happy birthday to her. Other announcements? Eric?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I would like to invite everybody out to a Blue Ribbon baseball game. Yes, it's a Green Bay day. And our neighborhood association, the John Deere Park neighborhood, is running the concessions, and it's a double header starting at 4 o'clock. Actually, there's a walk for to end Alzheimer's before that, so you can come out earlier. And you can come out, and 50% of the proceeds go back to our neighborhood association. So, love to see you all out there.
So what's the date again?
Oh, I apologize, May 30th.
Okay. Very well. Well, very well coached enterprise from what I hear. Any other announcements? All right, thank you. Well, there's now on to ordinances, second reading for adoption. We all have we have change. Yeah. Motion has been made to adopt I-1, made by Alder Prophet. Second by Alder Presley. All right, any discussion? All in favor, say aye. Oh, yes, we do. Apologies, to use the board. That is adopted unanimously. Now on to I-2.
I'd like to make a motion to amend the proposed ordinance by striking section 2.d.2.d in its entirety and amending section 2.d.2.a by revising the phrase, quote, development areas A, B, and C, quote, to read, quote, development areas A, B, C, and F, close quote. Is there any desire for staff to explain the change?
That's what I was thinking. Sounds like a great amendment. Might need an explanation. Is there a second for that? Second. Second by Alder Prophet. Director Murray or staff?
I think that the reason for the amendments is to allow some construction to happen on these sites, and so the setbacks were changed. The size of the setbacks have been changed. So that's tweaking this PUD to allow that housing development to happen.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? We will, all in favor of the amendment, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The amendment has been approved. Motion to adopt is amended, made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Bush. Any discussion on that? Use the board. That also is approved unanimously. On to the report of the redevelopment committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Presley. Seconded by Alder Henquist. Any items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Improvement in services. Motion to approve made by Alder Delee and seconded by Alder Bush. Items here to be handled separately? Hearing none, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That report has been approved. Protection Policy Committee. Motion to approve made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Delee. Items here to be handled separately? Aye. Any others? Hearing none others, all in favor of approving the remainder of that report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. The report has been approved with the exception of item 9. Motion to open the floor made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Presley. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. the floor is open. So we have Rick Hireman and John D'Angelo. And then it is our custom to have our guests state their names and addresses, and then you have 3 minutes for testimony.
Rick Hireman, Whiskey Rose Saloon, 631 Golden Street. I heard that they were gonna deny my liquor license. Back in '24, when it was a getaway, it had 52 police calls. I turned it around, I took all the drugs out of the place. I had 13 calls last year, and half of them were in from my business. And the only reason why the police are trying to take my liquor license is because one cop in particular is trying to shut my business down. I done nothing but take all the drugs out of here. And John, he's been working with Rachel Mays, the city prosecutor, on a couple tickets that I do have that were basically falsified. I even had to file internal affairs against one cop, and that's why he is going after me to shut my business down.
Any other comments?
Do you know anything with what's going on, Rachel?
Attorney John D'Angelo, One Law Group, over in Schwaben, so don't shoot me. Right now, we're still in the midst of working with the citations. We have some negotiations, they're still continuing. Had some communications with Attorney Mays at this point. My client has provided documentation suggesting that a lot of the report that he had to sign, there's a contract that he signed last year with his liquor license, that the officer who the complaint is against hasn't been following exactly, and then he gets cited. So we're working on that, trying to work it as a business that is productive in the community, and we're just asking that the board reconsider the approval. Thanks.
Questions for our guests? Is there more?
I just have one question on our agenda. We're talking about Jam Rock. Is that changed the name to Whiskey?
No,
No, sir.
Are we on the same agenda now?
Oh, okay. So it's in the list that was attached to the report.
Whiskey Rose 2 it's at the bottom and red, so.
Question. Any questions? Thanks for your testimony.
Thank you.
Anyone else on this item? This one, maybe Alder Lee, second by Alder Prophet. All in favor will say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, the floor is closed. Any comments from Alders? Alder Eck?
I'm not seeing any police reports attached to our agenda, and I'm just wondering if we could have maybe PD go over some of their concerns, please.
Yes, absolutely. Attorney Bouchard.
Yeah, just really quick, from a procedural standpoint, this is on this list as a notice of intent to non-renew. So presumably if approved, a notice would go out to this establishment, and then they'd have an opportunity to request a hearing, and then that would be the point in time which, whether it's be the police department or anybody else's testimony, we provided theirs as well as documents. But it's just a request so we can send the notice out, because council has ultimate authority over alcohol licensing, so we have to come and ask for permission for that notice. Just for clarification, this isn't a hearing, it wasn't planned to be.
So are you advising council that it's probably best not to have a debate about, or a conversation about calls for service, things of that nature?
Yeah, I think that's appropriate. Again, it would be appropriate to refrain from having conversation about calls or things like that, because we haven't provided information on license holder. Again, this is just a notice of intent based on the recommendation, which I think was probably presented at the PNP protection policy, just based on the police department clerk for inspections, their cumulative recommendation.
Very good. Yeah, no problem.
Just one quick follow-up question for Attorney Kochart. It's my understanding as well that there is a deadline that is given, I believe it was April 15th, that would guarantee the applicant the full process before the end of the licensing year. Is that correct as well? So the full quasi, if it were to come to that, will all be fully resolved before the end of the licensing year. Is that correct?
Yes, as long as the application was received by the deadline, we were required to process it by the June 30th deadline. So if they did, if the notice was given, they requested hearing, that will take place at one of the June council meetings.
Okay, so with that in mind, I'd make a motion to approve the list as we have it presented in front of us.
Alder Brown makes a motion to approve the item, seconded by Alder Pressley. Discussion on that, Alder Morgan?
I just wanted to abstain for the Mike. Thank you. I just wanted to abstain from the part in the liquor license for the Green Bay Blue and baseball team.
Any other comments? None, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay? The ayes have it, and that item has been approved. On to Police Department granting operator licenses. Motion to approve made by Alder Presley, seconded by Alder Orlovsky. Any discussion, abstentions? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay? The ayes have it, that item's been approved. Planning Commission? Motion to approve made by Alder Prophet, seconded by Alder Presley. Items here being separately? Two. Any others? Hearing none others, all in favor of the remainder of the report, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed nay? The ayes have it, the report has been approved with the exception of item 2, and that is to approve a request for a conditional use permit at 315 South Jefferson Street with conditions. Motion on the floor, it's been made by Alder Prophet. Seconded by Alder Pressley. All in favor say aye. Opposed nay? The ayes have it, floor is open. So I have two noted here, people that would like to speak. If you haven't registered, feel free just to approach the podium after these two speakers with their comments. First one is Sarah Hanson. Again, it's the custom of the council to require the name and address for that, and then 3 minutes for testimony.
Thank you. I think we all want fewer people sleeping outside. We want fewer 911 calls for preventable crises. And we want a neighborhood that feels safe and stable. At this point, most of us agree that doing nothing is really not an option.
Name and address.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Sarah Hanson, 2426 Decker Street in Franken. Recent point in time counts in Brown County have found roughly 80 to 125 people sleeping outside every single night, even when the shelters are full or near capacity. Many of these neighbors have mental illness or substance use disorders and simply cannot succeed in traditional shelters. Safe Haven Hope Center is designed specifically for that high need group. It's serving up to 20 adults in a supervised household style setting. It's structured as a structured home with rules, accountability, and support. The Jefferson Street location is the right size and layout with access to bus lines and downtown services. And to be frank, many of the people we hope to serve are already in that neighborhood, sleeping in parks, bushes, doorways. The real question is whether they remain unsupervised and unsupported, or come inside to a small staffed program with accountability and rules. The model we're proposing is not experimental. It's a proven model that's built on national best practices, housing first and harm reduction oriented programming that have been studied across the country. Large evaluations show that they dramatically increase housing stability and reduce ER visits, inpatient stays, police contact, and jail time without increasing substance use or neighborhood crime. This is a supervised and accountable program. We're going to continue to work closely with the Green Bay Police Department, Brown County Crisis, and nearby neighbors so concerns are addressed quickly and transparently. We will track any police, EMS calls, and respond promptly to neighbor concerns so we can be held accountable. If there's something that's not working, we are committed to fixing it rather than just walking away. Approving this permit does not mean accepting chaos. It means choosing a proven, accountable model. The unplanned status quo that already exists in our city is not acceptable anymore. I respectfully ask you to approve the conditional use permit for Safe Haven Hope Center so that we can move from an unmanaged crisis to evidence-based solutions that make our community safer, more stable for everyone. So thank you for your time and your consideration.
Any questions? Thank you. Next up, Vicky Alstein.
Hi, my name is Vicki Alstein. I do not live in Green Bay any longer. I live in Lena, born and raised in Green Bay though. I'm gonna get right to the point. Safe haven exists because people in Green Bay need a safe place to sleep. That's it. Housing first. We need to take care of the people that need our help. You can't hold a job or manage your health or get back on your feet if you don't have someplace safe to lay your head and feel safe. The people we serve are your neighbors, they're not strangers. A lot of them work and a lot of them are trying hard, really, and they deserve dignity and our respect. There have been concerns raised about the shelter, and I take that seriously. We have policies, accountability, and structure in place. We're a responsible organization and we take our role in this community seriously. What I don't accept is disrespect and people being treated with hostility. So we need to accept these people and give them the help that they deserve. They're human beings. Safe Haven operates with integrity. We're not going anywhere, and what we're asking from this council is to support us in doing this work. Housing first means people first, and that's what we're here for. Thank you.
Derek?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I have a question for Vicky.
Okay.
So are you on staff there?
No, I'm on the board.
Oh, you're on the board, okay, just wondered, because you were saying we, so I just wanted to clarify.
Yes.
That, so, all right.
That's it?
That's it?
I'm let off easy.
Thank you.
Alright, so that's the list of people we have registered, so if you just approach the podium, state your name and address. Anyone else would like to speak?
Hello, everybody. My name is Stephanie Guzman, 2711 Melbourne Drive. I'm somebody who has come here for a variety of different things. I feel like I've got to know a lot of you guys in healthy debate, but also in good conversation and working together. And I think that's one of the things that makes Green Bay so special, that although we are on different sides of what is political noise, we actually have something in common, and it's that we want people to do well, inherently. I understand that what we have an idea about is how we get there is not gonna be the same for all of us, especially when we have different lived experiences, right? However, I do wanna say that as someone who has had to sleep in places that are unsafe, as someone who has had to find ways to make it in a city like this with no support, as someone who has had family members who have, let's say, a felony from when they were 17 years old, and then that be used against them for housing, for jobs, to get better, to try to get to the next place. I'll tell you, because I experience it on a daily basis, it is almost impossible. And now that trauma is also going on to the next generation, the kids. And so a lot of these parents, I used to work for Brown County Child Support. I remember wanting to call the dads and saying, hey, can you pay? Can you make a payment? It's not for the person, it's not for a person, it's for your kids. And a lot of them would be like, I can't get a job. I don't have a place to live. And so I'm telling you from lived experience and from working for the government that we need more places and less hate. We need more safe havens and we need hope. And so if we don't agree on what that looks like, I respect that. But I think that we have talent here to be able to get there. I think we have conversations that need to be had. I feel like there are obviously people here who want to work with us, and I think it'd be actually something against what we all want if we don't take these things seriously. And so I'm really excited to see what comes out of it. I'm coming with it with hope. I literally know Elizabeth Feldhausen. It's nothing to do with the place that we're talking about, but I got my cat from Safe Haven on Broadway. And so the process there was something that, for me, opened my mind that as a community, we can help with the animals. We can help do good things in a small place, like the power of one. So now imagine what we can do when we're talking about human beings. You know, we're talking about people. And so I think that we're going to be able to come out of this in a better place. I know that there's a lot of people who are worried about, oh, there's needles and there's things, but I promise you, not everybody who's trying to make their life better, who doesn't have a home, is a criminal. Not everybody is a bad person, and sometimes they just need a little bit of help. So that's all I want to say. Thank you.
Yeah, hi, my name is Don Radford, 408 South End, Durden Street, apartment 1. I was listening to the radio the other day, WOG, I think, and one came on a song, Fly Like an Eagle. We've probably all heard it, I'm sure we all know the lyrics. And it just came across while I was thinking about this, all the people living in the street. That song was released 50 years ago. We still ain't got it done. So we need to do something. The situation is simply untenable. And I hear worries about the potential clients for this shelter. But my grandfather, who was a kid during the Depression, grew up playing in coal piles over there while his dad was running moonshine through the rock forge. He owned the hammer in after Prohibition was over. I don't think it's any mistake that the Tavern League has its headquarters right down on the corner. So, some people look at these people around here and see problems. I see the immediate descendants of people in my family invited into our houses, served drinks, laughed and danced with. I can't just walk away from these people. I'm very conscious. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. My name is Tony Grino. I'm 315 Jefferson. It's good to be here. I need this, everybody here needs this that's listening to the program. Come a long way off the streets, been off the streets for a couple months since he's, I just wanted to say that being at the Cat Haven, when I was there, they moved over and they got they went through changes and, I got to see how they were damaged too. And I was damaged and all this, just like the cats, I'm happy right now where I'm at and being with my people, happy. I just ask that. If you can keep it going, it will help a lot of us that, aren't felons but we're all the same in homelessness and tremendous. And love and all that goes right along with it. And so does a house. Stability and, I haven't used in it'll be 18 months. And, Kathy and Megan and Elizabeth and the whole organization have been a big part of that. It's making me realize that I'm able to take care of myself, be myself, and love myself, and along with others, along with me as well. So I appreciate your time. Thank you.
My name is Susan Bortula. I'm currently living in the Women's Center, thank God. It was a Packer weekend, so all the hotels were filled, everything was full. So I didn't have to sleep in the grass again. For 2 years, my ex-husband wouldn't give me any money, I had none, so I was on the street. So I personally witnessed what goes on. I'm a retired human resources manager at Wisconsin Public Service. Kathy came to the house, the director came to the house, or the hospital, and visited me, discharged me early, and residents helped me at home. They brought things to me. I can't tell you how much that meant to me. I can't walk anymore without aids. I'm disabled, but my mind is still there. And I can tell you, Green Day, I did all the equal employment opportunity reports for the 30 years I was Wisconsin Public Service. And I'll tell you, Green Bay, the city of, is seriously out of compliance with national and state laws. I'm going to file a $10 million lawsuit against the city of Green Bay. And, to make you change your acts. Thank you.
My name is Kathy Arretto. I live at 102 South Ashland Avenue here in Green Bay. And I love these people to death. And there is just about nothing in the confines of the law that I wouldn't do for them, to help them be where they need to be and do what they need to do. I'll tell you, there's some of them that I've worked with for over a year. And in that year, it took a whole year to get some of them just to go to the doctor. Just to go to the doctor. Now, that's important because in that time, they weren't stable and they were outside and they were sleeping at the pavilion and in the bushes and wherever it was that they could find a place to stay. They've been stable now for 3 or 4 months, really stable. And yesterday, that person went to the doctor. That person felt so sober for the first time, and I don't even know how long. Is everybody gonna stay sober? No, I don't think so. Do I hope and celebrate today for their sobriety? You betcha. And my hope is that they will continue to be sober and they will continue to make strides. Harm reduction has a saying that says, any positive change is recovery. We've decided somewhere along the way that recovery looks like this, and it's in this particular box. And I would challenge that thinking tonight to say, recovery looks like any positive change. And let me tell you, the whole house is here tonight, and every single person has made positive change in one way or another. I can also tell you that we've been there almost 2 full months, and there has not been one police call, not one. And I don't know the stats because I'm not a stat person. That's Sarah and Sunny and other people. They could probably tell you, the police could probably tell you, that's not very common for folks that come from the park. I don't think they go very often without police calls. But we haven't had any. And they tell each other daily, hey, we gotta do this, we gotta do that. We want this. They want this. We have buy-in and we have hope and we have people that were committed a promise in January that I have literally gone to the ends of the earth to make sure it was fulfilled. And I will continue to do that day after day after day because I take my promises seriously. So understand that when I'm asking you to make a conditional promise to me by letting us be there, I take that seriously as well.
Thank you. May I have some questions?
Oh.
Alder Ruff and then Alder Ranch.
So thank you, Kathy, for joining us tonight, and supplying a 203, I believe, page operating plan.
Sarah did it.
Thank you, Sarah. Appreciate the work. It was a very comprehensive document. I had just received some information that maybe there was some name changes within there, so I was just hoping maybe you could kind of address, like, has there been any staffing changes since that was provided in our packet, and has there been, new names, new faces?
Yeah, there have been staffing changes almost all the way across the board. When we first filled it out, we had filled it out with some immediate names that we knew we were gonna be able to get help from right away. We have the full
staff here -1, so not the full staff. We have staff here -1, and they're different, and our therapist will be different as well. So in looking, we had our therapist resign, and we wanted to make sure that we have the very best in trauma therapy in the greater Green Bay area, dare I say Northeast Wisconsin, and we're in talks now with her, and just working out the details. You're welcome.
Other action then, Preston?
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, a couple questions, and one was around the therapist, and just wondering if it's trauma therapy, and is it one person that's trained in trauma and like AODA training?
So all of our staff has what's called lived experience. And today in the recovery world for mental health and or substance use, lived experts are valued in that arena. And so personally, I would prefer to hire people with lived experience over degrees any day of the week, as long as they've come out the other side. And our staff has. They will also be trained in being trauma-informed. They will be trained in recovery coach training, which we're working out now with a gentleman from Appleton to do that through SAMHSA. And so we should have that on the books within the next week or so. Collectively, we're also going to work with the Gathering Place, surprise, they don't know that yet, and Amanda's house, and make it open to the community at large for recovery. So we've got that for peer support. We're also looking to do formal certified peer support training, but that costs about $25,000 to bring a class to Brown County, and there has to be someone willing to foot that bill. If we don't have someone willing to pay that, they'll offer it to whatever counties will. So at this time, we're waiting for Brown County to have openings enough for our staff to get in there, because I'd like them all to be certified through the state, as I am.
Okay. So currently do you have any programming on site?
We do. We have a recovery coach on staff, and she currently is working through one-on-ones, doing recovery coaching with individuals, and making sure that they check goals, they have plans, they are working towards them, and looking at the short term and the long term, and making plans for how to get there.
And then there were a couple concerns that were brought up during your different meetings that you had, planning and your neighborhood meeting. And one of them was a question of whether you have your own 501c3 separate from Safe Haven Pet Sanctuary. Has that been resolved?
Great question. And we clarify this repeatedly, it seems, rightly so. They are completely separate organizations. Safe Haven Pet Sanctuary is this, Safe Haven Hope Center is this. More like sisters, not parent-child.
Mm-hmm.
And so yes, there are separate 501c3s. At this particular time, we're in process waiting with the IRS, and I don't know if you're familiar with that process, but apparently it can take a minute or two.
Okay, so it's in process?
Yeah, oh yeah.
Okay, well, because I know if it's a 501c3, you can receive donations. It's hard to
Yes.
stay afloat without the donors, and they usually want to be able to, a tax deduction.
Absolutely.
And then there was also brought up with a concern of drinking on site
Yeah.
and residents sleeping overnight. I think that's what my understanding was. Non-residents sleeping overnight, I apologize.
Yeah. So what I'll tell you is that I haven't ever found that to be the case. I haven't heard that from staff, and the truth of the matter is, just being really transparent, we will have people that break rules. If these folks were rule followers, they'd be in other shelters, and there would be no need for a Safe Haven Hope Center. But the fact of the matter is not unlike myself and others, they are not really great at following rules. That said, there are consequences if you break the rules, and there are
while we don't eject people, we do for a night. We welcome them to come back in the morning. I'm a person of faith, and so for me, my mercies are due every day. And so I feel like that's what we should offer them too. So if they're found drinking, they will be asked to leave. Their alcohol will be dumped out and they will be ejected. And then welcome you back tomorrow to try again. And we will just continue to do that day after day after day. Thank you. You're welcome.
All the rest of you in that paragraph.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Kathy, for being here and speaking. It's very clear from all the other testimony how important and impactful your work has been. I know that you would do this for free. And do you have a plan in place to make sure that this Hope Center is financially stable going forward?
Oh gosh, I sure hope so. We do, actually. We have had a steady funder that has been giving a small stipend. We put out a number of what we needed to run bare bones, and we have received that monthly since we've been in the house. And we have several people doing some work on the side. We have fundraisers scheduled. We have grants that we're looking at daily to try to see if we can qualify for. I'm connecting with other people in the recovery world here in Green Bay to see if we can get together and do bigger grants that would satisfy our house and their need.
Yeah, and I understand you don't have the 501c3 set up just yet, so that is a major obstacle. Do you have people on your board who have experience with this kind of fundraising, or do you have people in the organization that are prepared to take on that?
I believe so. Let me, yes. They said yes, we do. So I know that Vicky is really good at fundraising. She, I think, did so for John Dewey for the 4 years that she was president of their board. And I know Sarah, as a former pastor of a church, did considerable fundraising. I did it with her. And I know Sunny has got to have tricks up her sleeve. But more than that, we have had people coming out of the woodwork. I have one person in particular that is an executive director for court-appointed special advocates who used to do fundraising as her career for JNC, and she has offered to help me and coach us in any way that we need help.
That's excellent. Yeah, I know I work in the arts nonprofit world, and I found that the people with the most passion for the subject tend to be the worst at finding money for it. So I'm glad that you have folks who are helping you and are going to help make this work. So
Yes.
it eases my conscience a lot with the vote. And
Mine too.
appreciate your time.
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for your testimony and explaining everything today. Just a couple of questions. Is your staff going to be CPR and AED trained? Anyone on site?
That's a fantastic question. I believe that Amanda is, and Brandon, are you, and Sarah is. So all but a couple of us are, and to be honest, I hadn't thought of that, and yes, we will be, and I will be contacting someone this week to make sure that that's true.
Okay, perfect. And I know in the plan it does say that a staff member is there overnight, is that correct?
Yes.
And how many, I know during the temporary permit, how many nights were you there on site yourself?
How many nights? Oh gosh, I don't know. I could go back in the records and look.
I was like a few times, most of the nights, half the time. I just wanted to see how often you were there experiencing everything, to see how it was running, to be able to let us know, how many issues are we having and are they getting worked out and things like that. There was concerns of the, management of it. So I just wanted to know how often you were there overnight for that.
10 to 20. I'm usually there for 12 to 14 hours a day. And so sometimes I go home and sleep. I am there on Saturday and Sunday, and I'm grateful that I have staff willing to come in at night. They also know though that if any incidents arise, and I mean any incidents arise, that I'm to be notified immediately after 911 if that's necessary first. maybe one person on one call and one on the other even. So if any incidences of any magnitude have arisen, I've been notified immediately. I actually got dressed one night in my clothes, over my nightgown.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And I know, you said that you are licensed. I also saw that this was established in 2026, but you've mentioned that you've been working with people for over a year.
Yeah.
So I was just wondering, like, in what capacity, how are you doing that? Just voluntarily on your own time or with an organization?
So I used to attend Samaritan's Heart Church, and I worked with Jerry Bader to develop what is now known as Warming in the Heart on Sunday afternoons. And from that, got to know several of these folks and several of the people that were outside. So my husband and I would go after an event or somewhere, if we went out to dinner, and we'd just bring blankets. And then we started to really kind of connect with them. And I found out that many needed health care. Many needed healthcare advocates, and then just started connecting with them much more closely.
Okay, perfect, thank you. And then, I was just reviewing your plan. I did see a section here when we call the police or emergency services, just if weapons or credible threats, physical violence, serious medical issues. What about if drugs are found?
If drugs are found, we will not call 911. That's not an emergency. And I believe in our policies, we have an addendum to what we first originally put in that says that we will utilize the deter system of disposal so that the person, if drugs are found, they can have the option to leave or stay. And if they stay, we will get the terror and we will bring it to them and they can dispose of their drugs there. And it renders them inactive, or they can leave.
Okay. And then just one question, how have you handled complaints or concerns from your surrounding neighbors over the past month?
We've only had one neighbor complain so far, and we've handled that quite promptly. I thought within 24 hours, if not less. And we give 48, I think, in our operation manual. So I thought we handled it quite well. As soon as we have neighbor grievance forms, and as soon as one is filled out and submitted to us, at that time we coordinate, and depending on where it needs to go, the board or myself, we address it.
Perfect.
In writing.
Okay. And how many people are on your board?
Right now we have 4.
Okay. Perfect, thank you.
Thank you.
Kathy, just want to really thank you for being here. I think probably most of us in this council believe that housing is a right that everybody should have here in the city. Just as a way of summary, we've kind of heard a lot of other folks, testify here tonight. But why is there such a need for a shelter like this in our community?
So St. John's does a fantastic job with a great number of people. I commend them, I commend their staff. I couldn't imagine that many people and trying to corral them. My goodness, I'm herding cats with 9 or 12 or 15. But they have very strict rules, and their rules are set in stone. For instance, disrespect. They can expel someone for disrespecting staff. Sometimes when I get angry at home, I get angry and I will say words and I might yell. And my husband doesn't expel me because I vented or I got animated much. Sometimes he might want to. And he doesn't do that. And I don't think neither should we. There have been times when residents and I have had words, and that's okay. The only way for people to learn to make amends and to learn to correct those things is through working that out. So that's what we try to do. Now, that said, if there were 100 of them, that would be quite different, I imagine. So St. John's is great for most. New Community is very, very good also. they do a phenomenal job. They are completely sober. So if someone's drunk or if they're still using any kind of substance, they're not allowed in. Additionally, though, we learned that in either shelter, trans people are not allowed either. So we found that gap as well. So now we have both of these gaps that we're filling, which are people that don't fit here and they don't fit here. And in the meantime, they fall through the middle. And so our hope is just to be that safety net that catches them so they don't fall.
Thank you. Do you have stats of, how many people are staying there so far?
We have 9 people, 9 residents,
9 residents? And are they male, female?
some of them. We have, I don't know, 1, 2, 3, you're not there yet. 1, 2, 3, 4 females.
Okay, so
And
you
5
haven't gotten
males.
close to the 20 yet?
No, not yet.
Now, do you have separate facilities then for males and females, or how does that work?
No, actually, they cohabitate. On the street, sometimes friendships are made, and gender isn't important. And so that's not important to me either. Wherever somebody wants to sleep and they're comfortable, then I want them to be comfortable, because that's where they're gonna heal the best.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Alder Hutchison.
Thank you for your testimony. So I'm looking at the applicant narrative and operations document. Is this document?
Yes.
Okay. I used to work on remediation projects. We had something similar. It was called a site safety plan. And you have, it's actually 243 pages. Which is not abnormal for a site safety plan. This is the list of your addendums you
Yes.
have, which is not abnormal for a plan of this nature, because you can refer to it, you can
Right.
go to it. I don't know if you know how important this document is, because it's your shield and it will be your sword, okay? If you work according to this, you'll be safe.
Yes.
If you don't work according to this, you'll be vulnerable.
Right.
Okay, it's so important on these projects I worked on, every day we had a site safety plan. It was 5 minutes. It was the first thing in the morning. And all the workers and all those people who are involved sat down for 5 minutes and they took one little piece of this and they discussed it. So over the year, you can pretty much discuss this whole thing, okay? And you get to know it.
I love that.
Okay, I would highly recommend that, and if you're not adverse to that, I would hope you would pick that up and use it.
I'm gonna totally steal it right now.
Okay, thank you.
No, thank you.
That, I guess I don't have a question after that.
Anything else? Thanks so much for your testimony.
My name is Carl Knight, and I live at 711 South Broadway, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 94304. I'm also the owner of the historic Tarleton Theater, located 405 West Walnut Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin, 94303. Let me start by apologizing for following the headlining act. But thank you to Kathy, Sarah, and the board for their life-changing work. My apologies to any folks who have suffered through my speech in previous meetings. Supporting our unhoused and unsheltered community members is a deeply personal issue to me. Years ago, I lived through houselessness and struggled with participating in our community due to barriers to housing. Thanks to the compassion of community organizations very similar to Safe Haven, Hope Center, I was provided with opportunities which improved my quality of life and offered me the agency to live, work, and contribute in our community in a meaningful way. Unfortunately, like hundreds of other American cities, Green Bay continues to face challenges in addressing houselessness and housing all of our community members. Local shelters and service providers are regularly operating at beyond capacity, with waiting lists reaching hundreds of individuals throughout the year. You all know by now the leadership at Safe Haven Hope Center have a proven record of rising to the occasion in our community to provide shelter, mentorship, training, and connection. They've proven Green Bay looks out for one another. The new facility will represent another vital private investment along with new community shelter in St. John's and the well-being and stability of a segment of our community which public services alone cannot fully address. It's our opportunity to support private community partners in alleviating houselessness, an issue which aligns very closely with the city's own long-term planning and development mission. Ultimately, community development and community leadership isn't about being perfect, but it's about being brave. I've worked very closely with their leadership over the last couple of years, and I have absolute confidence in their team to continue leading with compassion, neighborliness, and bravery in improving the overall quality of life in our community and filling a vital resource gap in the downtown. Financing was mentioned. In order to contribute to Safe Haven Hope Center mission to house our community, my team and I at the Tarleton Theater are coordinating with the Safe Haven leadership to organize a community fundraiser in August 2026. You'll all be formally invited to attend closer to the fundraising date. While the single fundraiser won't support the mission long term, I know a number of other community partners who have interest in financially supporting the very vital work of Safe Haven as they open the new facility. I cannot tell you the number of times I've been told by local government it's a process. I'm urging you to support the process and approve Safe Haven's application for their conditional use permit. Let's continue to create a resilient Green Bay which works for all of us. Thank you.
Hello. My name is Amy Zellner. I live at 822 Pine Street. And homelessness or houselessness or being unhoused is something that has affected me personally. I have a deceased parent due to, I would say, lack of structure in this community for the unhoused. This person died homeless. And I feel like if they had more support, that maybe wouldn't have happened. So it is personal. And then those experiences for me prompted me to go to law school and become an attorney to advocate for people that are like unhoused, disenfranchised, unable to have resources. So if anybody needs help with any issues like that, you know. But yeah, it's unfortunate, and whether it's harm reduction, whether it starts with small improvements in lifestyle, people need a place to do that, and it shouldn't have to be on the street. It should have some kind of place where people can do that safely. And when they're repeatedly treated awfully by any kind of establishment, they become scared to ask for help. When they continue to receive harsh treatment and lack of support, they stop asking for it, and then they die homeless. So I hate to see more of that. Thank you.
Just a note for residents. I appreciate, any applause, but we typically don't allow for that.
No applause when I step up. Jesse Burnett, 612 Stewart Street. I'm the executive director of St. John's Ministries. At St. John's Ministries, we're part of a community network of shelter providers. We're all committed to making homelessness rare, brief, and non-reoccurring. A couple things that came out of this process, and I really hadn't intended on speaking, but I wanted to clarify a few things through this process. So number one, we at St. John's are a low barrier shelter. We have always been a low barrier shelter. This season, we sheltered 140 people per night between the two shelters for our emergency season. last year was 141, the year before that 121, the year before that 102. So we have grown year after year, but fortunately this last season we have stabilized the numbers, which hopefully is a good sign for our community. I also want to make sure we're clear that when the issue came up for its safe haven, when it was the cat shelter on Broadway, when they were sheltering people, I think there is some insinuation that the shelters were at capacity. I can't speak for any other shelter in town, but at St. John's Ministries, we hadn't even reached close to capacity. We're allowed per the permit that you all have approved 140 men per night. The most we had this season was 128. This council approved us to go to 70 women. We peaked at 50. So we had room at the shelters. However, even though we're a low barrier shelter, we do still have some barriers. Number one, you can't be on the sex offender registry. Number two, if you have an open warrant, I think it's very reasonable to settle that with the police. We don't want to shelter people evading law enforcement. Number three, and this is often difficult, if a person is not able to provide self-care, oftentimes we're not able to shelter them because we don't have medical staff on site and we're not a medical grade facility at any of our locations. Fourth, I would add was if a person is transitioning to other shelter options or other housing options, because we're a low barrier last resort shelter, we have kind of followed the policy much more strict, just so guests have forward movement. We are an emergency shelter. We're not meant to be a long-term place for a person to live. However, we have been sheltering people year after year for several years. That's the chronically homeless population that Green Bay continues to struggle with, and your case coordinators for the city of Green Bay, Pete and Jeremy, have done incredible work. Big fans of theirs. Then fifth, and I want to touch on this because it's important. We have a lot of we extend a lot of grace with that number of people we shelter. To say that we just simply exit someone because they're, saying things to my staff. Yeah, of course, if it escalates to that, we try our best to extend a lot of grace, knowing the conditions that a person presents with, mental health issues, drug, alcohol addictions, sense of entitlement within some of our population we serve. However, if it continues to escalate, then we have to ask a person to leave. And even if we ask a person to leave, we usually allow them back in once they meet their security guard. So when you're sheltering 128 men on a night, we can't have continual disrespect towards staff, because what that will do is it will discourage other people from being sheltered by us. Who wants to be sheltered by an organization that allows, profanity, vulgarity, sexual comments, racial comments that are very inappropriate. So we have to enforce rules, but that doesn't mean that a person's expelled from our services entirely. And then lastly, supervisor, I said supervisor, Pekin County Government, Alderman Sheldon kind of mentioned this a little bit, and then someone responded. We shelter people regardless of their gender identity. So to say that we don't shelter people who identify as transgender is just simply not true. We do shelter people regardless of gender identity. I think the challenge is where and what shelter. So we have a policy. So I want to make sure very clear that when we have the cold snap, that our shelter was available for people as long as they met that criteria. And then second of all, if there's any member of our community who is a transgender, just reach out to us, because if there is a need that you have, we'll try our best to shelter you with accommodations that would be sensitive to your personal situation.
Thanks for listening. Any questions?
Thank you, Mayor. Thank you for coming, Jesse. How many people, I know that you've already been doing the men through the summer, and then now you're doing the women, and what are the requirements for that particular?
For the women's shelter expansion. So for newer members of the council, in September, this council approved us to have the women's shelter be a year-round facility, and it was a pilot initiative. We focus on 4 criteria. One is if you're chronically homeless or very vulnerable and can't survive in the streets. Number 2 is if you're in an AODA program, so you're overcoming sobriety. The third will be if you're employed and you just simply don't have enough money saved, but you're continually going to work, and we continue to shelter you. And then fourth would be if you were transitioning to a housing plan, so maybe you're saving a down payment, deposits, rate deposit, whatever, and you just need simply a place to stay. We started that with a pilot, thinking of anywhere from 5 to 20 women. I would say with the support of this council, we have been sheltering since April 30th, 20 women per night. So last night, I think it was 24 women. So we are moving forward with being more of a year-round shelter option for our community. And then by having the women go to the women's shelter, we have maintained the safe sleep program at the men's shelter. Historically, with the men and women sheltering together, it's just not always a good fit. You know, the co-ed nature of shelter, it's just a lot of intimate things that happen in a shelter environment. So with the women now at the women's shelter, we are able to shelter the men at the men's safe sleep program, and we have averaged 18 men per night. So far since April 30th, we've been sheltering 40 people per night here in Green Bay. So good success for us. And it's a community effort, of course.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Hello, my name is Tim Turtlett. I'm at 315 South Jefferson, Green Bay, Wisconsin 54301, which is the Safe Haven Hope Center. I've been there since day one. I just want to touch on something that Tim said about St. John's. Obviously, I stayed at St. John's myself, and you, as being homeless, would be on the streets. You're thankful for it. You can go there to eat, you can go there to shower, you can go there to sleep. So I'm not with your passion. However, as far as this gentleman speaking about his policies and how they work at St. John's, I was woken up after 2 hours and kicked out the middle of the winter at St. John's. I watched the guy get caught with a nicotine vape and kicked out for 45 days from St. John's. So I'm not saying that St. John's doesn't do good, but we don't do that at Safe Haven most. You know, you're not gonna get in trouble. You need a cigarette, go outside and have a cigarette. It's simple things. St. John's had a policy where if you're on the streets and it's cold, you can come to the door, ring the bell, and ask for a blanket. I was denied numerous times. It's supposed to be a policy if you're hungry, same as at the women's shelter Web Spring. Come press the doorbell, and we'll bring you a plate. St. John's doesn't do these things. Do they house people? Absolutely, 100%. You know, I'm sure that everybody that stays there, or at least hopefully most people, are grateful for it. But to have to sit back and hear as somebody who's to stay there that they're doing all these great things, they're kicking people out for the pettiest things that they can find on a daily basis. And at Safe Haven Hope Center, we don't work like that. There and that group of people were like a family. I was gonna have arguments, it's gonna be the way my kids, you know, whatever it is. It's gonna be that, but we haven't had any serious incidents there. And, you know, I don't know. I just have to say something about that.
Good evening. With Walden Youth, 413 St. John's Street, Green Bay, Wisconsin, downtown across the street from St. John's Park. Lived in the community for over 40 years and lived downtown many of those. I am one of the great cheerleaders for St. John's Shelter. They do a terrific job. But I also look out my front window quite often, and there is that segment of men and women who just don't fit in because of various reasons. And I think that the the safe haven is an alternative that's gonna be very, very good for the community and for the individuals who, just need a little bit more time, some nurturing in a family style kind of thing. And, I've been there 3 or 4 times since they've opened. I've had a couple of suppers with them, and they're pretty darn good. I just, the atmosphere in the place so far that I've been able to determine is very good. Kathy is doing a great job along with her team. And I just want to affirm them in their new ministry. It's going to have bumps, that's for sure. It's adjusting to the neighborhood, but I think it's not half bad that it's across the street from the police department parking lot. You know, that's you gotta have a location that if there are issues, someone can come readily and work with them, I think is a good thing. So I speak in favor of the shelter and wish them the best as they work out all of the issues that they are going to need to, and keep inviting me for supper.
My name is Christopher Pearson. I live at 315 South Jefferson Street. I was struggling with, I lost an addiction for a while. You know, I don't have any family left. They're all passed away. But this house has welcomed me with open arms. They helped me find groups to go to. I'm sober now. I've been able to accomplish a lot of things I haven't been able to do in the last, I'd say at least 2 years. And I've gotten it done within 2 months here at the house. So they really accepted me as part of their family there, and I really appreciate that. Yeah, keep it short and sweet, thank you guys.
Hello, my name is Sarah Lauber, and I live at 900 Plymouth Street, apartment 6. I have volunteered at the Hope Center. I haven't had the joy yet of meeting everyone, but I have walked in one time with food in my hands and looked in my eyes and asked, "Can I get you anything? Are you thirsty? Are you hungry? How are you?" And I think about that a lot, that these people who need these supplies the most will see me ready to eat, ready to go, kick my hand, bag the other, and ask, what help do I need? I think constantly, man, I'm bored. What can I do at the Hope Center? It's so nice there. And maybe that's just who I am, but I feel it speaks volumes that I, as a volunteer, I'm constantly thinking, ooh, what if we did that? Would they like all these colored pens I have? What if we had like a spa day? And all these ideas and all these everything to make this house feel more like a home than they've already made it. And I think it's very important to recognize that a lot of us in this room are one leg break, one car malfunction away from being cold and being on the street and needing to ask for help. And Safe Haven so far has answered those calls for help. And I'd ask you guys, when and if you need help, where would you like to go? Wouldn't it be nice to have somewhere like this to go, God forbid, should anything happen? Thank you.
My name's Sunny Lang. I live at 1815 Cormier Road, which is at 12 minutes. Don't come for me, and I know y'all love to see me up here. I am on the board as the secretary, so right now I kind of just take the notes and hang out. My thing isn't necessarily housing, it's food. I have a food ministry at my house. I rent, it's mobile, pull it in and out of my garage every day, so I just put some non-perishables and fresh produce that I grow in my community garden pots every year out for free. And I have really enjoyed working on this project. It's truly grassroots. It's kind of backwards, to be honest. A lot of other projects I've worked on have already had a plan in place before the doors have opened. So, as I understand it, conditional use permit means that we gotta come back to it and make sure everything's going well, right? That's a genuine question. Yeah, so nobody's expecting it to be perfect right away. I already was really connected to my community, but working on this project has been a little bit different because last time I spoke at city council, I came up here staunchly opposed to short-term rentals, and I still am. But, you know, who reached out to me and said, what can we do to help? The short-term rental alliance. So I'm out there having ideas about what can we do to help fill this need too. Housing first is, housing first, it comes first. Yeah, so that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Hi, my name's Lizard King. I live at 611 Abrams Street, Green Bay. And I'm a transgender man, so I wanted to speak on that gap that was mentioned. And I do want to take a moment to say St. John's is fantastic. The fact that they have that structure allows them to help a much wider or larger amount of people. But for people who need that additional help, you need smaller scale harm reduction type things. It's the same as with schooling. People are different. They have different needs. So we want to get people to the same place, successful in society, healthy. Sometimes that needs different solutions. You know, so it's not a competition, it's people working together. To my understanding, when I volunteered at St. John's, it was that transgender people were put in the shelter aligning with their gender at birth, assigned gender at birth. Is that still correct? So if you're a transgender woman, you would be put in a men's shelter?
Not necessarily, it's state issued ID.
Okay. I really appreciate that change. That's a step in the right direction. But say a transgender woman has an ID that still identifies them as male. Statistically, we know that transgender women are one of the most at-risk populations for violence. Putting them in men's shelters, in men's prisons, puts them at risk for violence. And I'll also say, poverty, trauma, being homeless, it's very dehumanizing. And being transgender, you often get dehumanized. And there is really good intentions, but just not enough education. And I appreciate you, I don't mean to put you on the spot, but saying a transgender, transgender is an adjective. It's just stuff like that where it's the way I was spoken to as a volunteer at St. John's. There was an incident, and they did come to me as staff and say, like, this person shouldn't have been saying those things about transgender women. But to my knowledge, no further action was taken, and it's when these things happen, it makes it hard as a transgender person to want to stay in that shelter. It makes you feel even more dehumanized, even more in danger. And so for many of us, if a place doesn't fully understand where we're coming from, it makes it harder to accept that help. And I think, again, I love St. John's, you guys do amazing things. It's just that there are so many different people. We need different solutions to help everybody get to the point where they can be happy and healthy. And so I think Safe Haven is going to be an amazing addition to our community, and that we don't need to have a single homeless person in Green Bay. And statistics show that it costs less to just house people than the ER visits and police calls and all of the other steps we have to take care of people on the street. And I think it would be amazing if we got rid of homelessness in Green Bay and put the city on the map and created a solution that could be used in other places. So I really appreciate your time, and I love everything about this community and everybody stepping up to try to solve this problem. And yeah, I don't want to criticize St. John's, it's doing really great things. But you know, as a transgender person, it can be an additional barrier in receiving help from these places. And St. John's could be a way, you know, we have a small shelter like St. John's just for queer people. So I think that this is a great step in the right direction for our community. Thank you.
Motion on the floor.
Motion by Ms. Gore, Alder Prophet. Second by Alder Davis. All in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. Motion carries. Alder Prophet.
I'll start. I'm sure there'll be more comments to follow. First thing though that I want to say is I just want to really appreciate the 9 residents. I see Chris walking back in, and I know we lost one, but I will never forget the first time I came to a city council meeting and I sat and I held the wall and got so nervous to come up and speak. So I just want to appreciate you. Chris, you're like the cheeriest person ever, so keep up that cheer. I really appreciate it. I do think there is a middle ground, as Kathy mentioned, where some folks are just unfortunately slipping. This is a small home with a max of 20. I think we have, I'm glad I was corrected, 243 pages. So a very robust plan in place that I think, again, directly next to the police department as well within, I mean, we could throw a rock and it would hit their property. So that makes me feel comfortable as well. So again, just want to thank the residents. They welcomed me into the home as well, and it was very nice to get a tour of the facility beforehand. I do have an amendment I'd like to propose. It would be a 7th addition to staff recommendations. So I would make a motion to add that the applicant shall appear before the Common Council approximately 6 months following the approval of the conditional use permit to provide a status report regarding operations and compliance with the conditions of approval.
Second by Alder Preston. Comments on the amendment?
I just want to understand.
Sure. All right.
Thank you, Mayor. Okay, so just making clear, so coming back in 6 months, giving a report. Basically, that's what you're asking for. Okay, all right. And I was gonna make a motion for 90 days, so I guess I will compromise. Thank you.
Good. All in favor will say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it. That amendment was adopted.
Second.
Hutchison makes a motion to approve as amended, seconded by Alder Rubush. Discussion on that.
Question for the police department. Are they required to contact an emergency or someone if they are in possession of drugs?
Well, the way the Wisconsin's drug possession statutes work, it is possible for a staff member to be, I guess it is conceivable at least that a staff member could run afoul of our drug possession laws by being in possession of drugs and disposing of them. There's a whole section, and I'm certainly not, to give any legal advice, but there's a whole section on drug disposal programs and some exceptions to the drug possession rules in the Wisconsin statutes around 961, 337 that I don't think would apply here because as I understand this, there has to be a federal permit. But there are other options. We don't have to charge someone for every amount of drugs that we seize for destruction, for example. So, maybe a way to make it a little safer for everyone would be for us to get together. This is the first I'm hearing of this part of their plan here, but, I think it might be a little bit better for law enforcement to dispose of that stuff, and we do that for people already all the time, and we collect prescription medication in our body. So we might be able to work something out that would keep them from running afoul of that.
Okay. I guess then next question for staff is that something that we can make part of the PUD that they are required to work out a program or system with our police department for disposal of drugs.
Absolutely, we could add that as a condition.
Okay, and then one last question, if they have a licensed recovery coach, does that require them to be licensed as any sort of, like treatment facility when we're offering services like that?
No, we don't believe so. Other shelters have additional services that are provided. So again, it's a gray area, but no.
All right, then I'll then to offer an amendment to add as part of the PUD that they work with our police department and all drug confiscation must go through our police department.
Second by Alder Prophet, the motion, sorry, the amendment was made by Alder Crawford, by Alder Grant, second by Alder Prophet. Discussion. Alder Hutchison.
Okay, in their 243 page document, there are the words that any attempt to bring in illicit substances, drug paraphernalia, or medication for the purposes of misuse will result in the confiscation of items and may require police involvement. Okay, consistent with SHHC's weapons, contraband, and safety policies. So there's already words that connect this type of incident, connecting it to the police department.
Clarification says may, so I would like it to be required.
Okay. If it involves specifically illicit substances, is that what you're talking about?
Yeah, I mean,
It's all in words, and so.
well, I mean, even prescription or legal, if someone were to get their hands on a prescription drug that isn't meant for them, it could be dangerous. So like the police department said, they have the option for every regular citizen to hand over those without any questions. I just would like to make sure these are properly getting disposed of. I'm not looking for punishment or, you know, anything like that. I just
Okay.
wanna make sure that these are properly getting disposed of.
Gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Just Chief Davis, sir, any comments on the wording that's been offered?
Yeah, I think if you change it to just that they work with us to dispose of drugs that are found on site. I didn't read the whole 247 page document, but I do see in here where there's
It's
a
on page
plan.
84, page 84.
There's a plan that's in the agenda item here that specifically says that basically staff, and I think we heard that from one of the folks who spoke earlier, for staff to use these drug destruction pouches. And that's where, you know, again, let's be realistic. I don't see the Green Bay Police Department going and initiating a criminal investigation into drug possession by the staff at a facility like this. But we also aren't the only police agency in town. So I can't speak for other agencies that have jurisdiction in our community. But I think a safer way of doing that is just to require that we take it for destruction. And you know, we'll have to have some discussions about the details of how that works, but I don't even know why we would need to know who it came from. Just, we found this in our facility someplace, I think would be sufficient. We can take it, put it in the property room, and we send truckloads of drugs off to be safely disposed of.
Okay, great, so you're comfortable with the amendment? That's
Yeah.
Forgive me, Mayor, but thank you. It's not directly on this amendment, but I feel like it's something that needs to be said, that Green Bay has done a lot for the homeless. You know, just kind of talking about some of the comments that were made, and we've come a long way. I think there's a lot of different organizations, not one better than the other. They each have their strengths, they each have their weaknesses, so I would like to recognize that, and I appreciate all of the organizations for where they fit within our community. So I just felt really strongly that I needed to say that, because I don't want this, you know, comparison. It's just not helping anything. And I do also want to point out something that was brought up. Actually, I had gone to Ashwaubenon when they had certain ordinances that they were considering. And they did talk about homelessness being a regional problem. And it is a regional problem. And so far, if we look around, the cities, the towns around our area within Brown County, Green Bay is the only place that has homeless shelters. So yay for Green Bay, and I appreciate all of the work that our staff does. Pete and Jeremy and Josh, went on a ride along with them, learned a lot. They're doing just tremendous work. So I just want to do a shout out to all of our staff and all of the organizations within Green Bay. And I'm putting out a challenge to the areas in this region to step up. Thank you.
Anything else on the grants amendment? Others?
Meeting, Mr. Mayor. Can I just hear the text of the amendment again?
Do you mind repeating what you said, she did this? I would, yeah, be fine with your guidance.
I think Clerk Jeffries maybe he has.
Excuse me, essentially giving a couple things you said. To amend the PUD to change may work with PD for drug confiscation to shall.
Perfect.
All right, any more discussion on the amendment? Seeing none, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay. The ayes have it, that amendment is adopted. Profit makes a motion to approve as amended, second by Alderman Deline. Any discussion on that? Alderman?
I do just want to make one statement to that, thank you, Alder, for echoing what our community does, and I agree, I'm a little disappointed in our surrounding communities for not stepping up the way we have. I am a little concerned about how people were treated in opposition of this. I've seen some pretty nasty comments and how people were treated on social media, in person, people who expressed concerns and constructive criticism were not treated very well, and even the city itself was portrayed pretty negatively when a warning letter was sent versus a citation when we very well could have just sent a citation. I think when we lead with that, it causes tension immediately. If that is how this project is going to continue to be, worked together on, I don't feel confident in it. We need to be able to communicate and hear each other's concerns and not treat each other with disrespect because we have a difference of how this problem can be solved. Thank you, Steph Guzman, for saying that. It's not necessarily that people are against helping the homeless population. Sometimes we have a difference in ideas of how to address it. That was perfectly said, and I do believe that a lot of these shelters have rules not just for getting people back on their feet, but for the safety of the residents and the staff themselves. If we don't have staff and volunteers able to work at these facilities because of the way they're being treated or their safety, how are any of these places going to be successful? And I think we all want to see success. I appreciate the amendment of the 6-month period. I do wish it was 90 days. I am very concerned that a lot of the, concerns were treated with disrespect, and I am nervous about the ability of this organization to, make this successful and a safe environment for all people.
Anything else?
I'll say one last thing. I think with their guidance document, and if they do go through it on a daily basis and communicate internally, and I think if there's a dialogue between the city and Safe Haven, I think it increases the potential of being successful. I think we want it all to be successful. And I think we can take our anchor and settle it down and have it more helpful. I think we can all come together, I think as we have, and make this work. Those are my final words, thanks.
Robin?
Just one brief comment on the amendment. I talked to staff about their recommendation number 4 first before deciding to add the number 7. So if at any point within the next 6 months, council, plan commission, our development director want to bring it forward before that 6 months, we all have the capacity to do that. So that's why I recommended 6 months, because if for some reason someone wants to bring it forward, they have that within their purview according to number 4. So that's why I did 6 months.
I just want to touch on Older Grant's comments. This came at the most vulnerable time in our city, when it was so cold that they decided to do what they did. You know, yeah, they didn't get the permits, but I think we gotta forget, we gotta look out for the best interest of all of our citizens. So to pin them in a corner to say that they broke ordinances back in January when it was 30 below zero, I don't think that's proper to make those kind of comments. I think they're gonna do a wonderful thing. I thank them for stepping up. Every shelter has stepped up, and yeah, we have work to do on our county side to get them to help us. But I don't think it's fair to make comments like that when we're in the most vulnerable time in the winter. So I got to say thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm inspired by the work that this group has done, and I'm very happy to vote for this CUP, and I hope it goes through unanimously, because I think, you know, what Alder Grant and what Steph Guzman said, we all see a need, and we may have different ideas of how we're going to get there, but like, these people saw a need and worked really, really hard and based it on the passion that they have, and then built the expertise behind them and the forces for the fundraising, and for the drafting their plan, and getting the professionals that they need. That passion has driven them so far, and now this is where we can add on to that. We can give them another thing that they need to drive that passion forward. I've not seen people as passionate as the people who spoke tonight, who spoke at the Plan Commission, who were at that neighborhood meeting. There's just a real fire behind this, and I'm glad that this body has the opportunity to continue to build that fire. I'll just say as a piece of advice from a fundraising perspective, this is probably the most press you're going to get unless something goes terribly wrong. So roll that into a fundraising pitch, please. Get your funders out there, get that bag. But yeah, thank you.
Yeah, I just want to say that I think I can speak for everybody on this council when I say we want this to be successful. And I'm really, I think, to me, this is what makes our community great, is that people step up for each other. And to echo what all the press they said, like, that's what this shelter was about. You can see that in the passion with which so many people came and spoke in support of it. And I'm really proud to support this with the amendments. I think we've had a very good conversation tonight where we've added 2 really strong amendments that will help ensure that this effort is successful. So thank you.
Just for clarification on Alder Rush's comment, I did not speak illy about the organization for their actions during the cold temperatures. I spoke illy of their reaction of when the city said, in order to operate like this, you must do it in the correct way, with a warning letter and explaining how to move forward properly. Thank you.
So the motion is to approve as amended. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, nay? The ayes have it, and that item has been approved as amended. Thanks you all for coming and for your advocacy. Great work. Report of the Finance Committee. Motion to approve, moved by Alder